Reports and rumors are starting to heat up surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays and a trade. As some new rumors have started to circulate surrounding a very interesting target. We're going to break that down in this episode, as well as discuss Ross Atkins revealing his master plan as spring training gets underway, about how he can help improve this team and what avenues they are going to be pursuing prior to the season starting in a bit over a month. We're going to break all that down in this episode, as well as a couple other things surrounding spring training. But before we get into it, folks, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. We just hit 16,000 subscribers, so thank you guys very much for your continued support over here. If you want to continue the support, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But ladies and gentlemen, spring training is underway now. Everybody's going to report by the 18th. A lot of things are going. Of course, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s contract is still not extended. He hasn't been signed for an extension yet. But today we're going to take a bit of a step back and go over some of the other comments that Ross Atkins came out yesterday with, as well as dive into some rumors that are starting to circulate surrounding a very interesting player. So let's start with this. Now this, dropped yesterday during the press conference. He said Ross Atkins said again today that any further additions are likelier to come via trade. The Blue Jays still have an excess of MLB-ready infielders. While their farm system isn't strong right now, that shouldn't be too prohibitive. One more bat would really complete this lineup. And as you look at the lineup right now surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays, it is very solid. We saw Anthony Santander officially report today. We saw a sighting of him, and the team is looking okay. And if they could add one more bat, that would really put this team not necessarily over the top into World Series contention, but they need one more bat. And of course, Ross was asked the question about how you're going to improve this team. Are you still looking at different avenues? Because of course they missed out on Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman since the last time he spoke to the media. And last time he did speak to the media, he said most of the avenues, which we'll dive into in a little bit here, are going to come via trade. And he doubled down on that today. So it does seem like a Jays trade is going to be coming before opening day. And I would assume that they see, just like we do, that they desperately need another bat. Now, whether that be in the outfield, whether that be in the infield, really a third baseman is their biggest glaring hole. Have Ernie Clement, and obviously with Ernie, he is poised for an interesting season. Now, there is a world, last season he put up a 3.1 B-WAR. There is a world where he, puts up something similar to that, but there's also a world where he falls off a lot, and then he couldn't be and won't be the everyday, infield that we're hoping from him. And again, we go back to Ross Atkins' comments last week or a couple weeks ago. He said, we'll never stop on that front if there's a way to do it regarding improving the roster. If there's a way to upgrade any aspect of a roster, whether it's run prevention, run scoring to our bullpen, it'd be hard to add to the rotation at this point unless it's just depth. And we know that the rotation is basically set right now. You have Alek Manoah starting to get healthy. His goal is August. Bowden Francis looks really, really good there in spring training so far. He's saying that he's feeling as good as he has ever, and that now that he's a starting pitcher, he can, fully lock in and prioritize his routine surrounding that, which can help him. But on the position player group, if there's a way to increase our depth, we'll look to do that. I think at this point, it would require a trade for us to add to the team. It doesn't have to, but it would most likely be the case. And this was before Bregman and Pete Alonso signed. I believe this is actually after Pete Alonso signed, before Bregman signed. Either way, it would most likely be the case via trade. So you start to think about trade targets. We'll dive into that in a second here. There is, again, you have second baseman, you're locked up with Andres Gimenez. Shortstop, Bichette. First base, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And then, of course, your center field, left field, right field, Springer in right, Santander in left, and then Dalton Varsho in center once healthy. In the meantime, probably Joey Laperfido. Now, there is, in theory, room for either a DH or a third baseman. Now, most of the third basemen are off the market at this point in free agency, whether that be Yo Moncada, Alex Bregman, all these guys. So that's obviously is a polarizing thing to add a third baseman of that nature. But some rumors are starting to circulate surrounding Arenado, and this dropped today. Now, again, these are just rumors. I don't think he actually comes to Toronto, but I wanted to bring this up because it pairs perfectly with the comment that Ross Atkins made yesterday about adding via trade. Now, it's probably not going to be directly Arenado, but when you're talking about different teams, whether that be outfielders, DHs, things like that, you can see this report that drops surrounding Arenado. The teams that make sense, Toronto and Seattle, are clubs he'd unlikely approve a trade to join because he has no trade clause, and the places he'd like to go to don't seem to think they need him, at least not after the worst season of his career. If the market was big, he'd already have been gone, said one rival exec. I believe the Cardinals were absolutely actively looking for a deal. It's fair to wonder how uncomfortable he'll be in St. Louis after all this, but as one exec put it Thursday morning, that answer is obviously more comfortable than Toronto, which is a little bit, people just classic throwing shade at the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, he doesn't want to be in Toronto. It doesn't seem like at this point. I don't think the Jays have been super involved in his market either. He is a declining player. I wanted to bring it up because he was a name that was actively involved in trade talks for a very long time. There still is a chance he gets traded to a team like the Yankees or something like that, but the teams that want him, he doesn't want to go to, and then the teams that don't want him are the ones that he'd be willing to move, waive his no move clause for. So it's very interesting. If actively declining Toronto, similar to a lot of the other guys, don't need to trade for him. He's a declining 33-year-old third baseman. That being said, if they traded for him, would I be upset? No, simply because you're at the point now in spring training, the season where you don't have third base locked down. There's going to be a lot of interesting things. Now, Aurelvis Martinez could be someone to look out for. Alan Roden as well in the outfield is someone that Ross Atkins had, spoke highly of in the press conference. So we'll have a video of covering that in the future. But regarding Nolan Arenado, I mean, there is some things going on. You can see this here. John, basically the GM there said Nolan Arenado wants a trade. Or if he wants a trade, he must expand the list of teams who'd be traded to beyond 5. That list drops to 4 with the Red Sox out, and basically said it had to open up a little bit more. Yes, so it's very rare where, the GM and the president, technically the president of baseball operations coming out and saying, hey, if you really want to trade, you have to open up your list beyond just 4 teams now since the Red Sox are out. So the Jays clearly aren't a part of those teams. We can see this here from Cardinals Live, a, fairly reputable, rumor guy for Cardinals. He said the Angels, the Jays, the Tigers, and the Mariners are teams that exist that have been interested and have shown interest in Nolan Arenado. I mean, it does make sense from a roster construction point of view, but if he doesn't want to come to Toronto and his list is only 4 teams, I mean, it's not just Toronto, it's 4 teams, then of course it would be very difficult to pull off. And again, one rival is more comfortable than Toronto, which is a little bit ridiculous. I mean, it is what it is. I'll leave that there. But someone else that I want to bring up is Luis Robert Jr. He is coming off a very bad season. Now, the White Sox are obviously not trying to compete this year, and if they are selling low on Luis Robert, if you're the Jays, you have to be entertaining this. Now, he would probably be, whether you put him in center, whether you put him in DH, you could move him around, he'd be a very good DH. He is coming off a horrible season, yes, but in his prime, literally 2 seasons ago, he put up 38 home runs. And this would be a guy where not only are you going to be getting, some stolen base threats and all those things, if you're able to get him for a pretty minor prospect, you look at some of the Jays' top prospect system, like Keegan Matheson said, like the Jays aren't looking great in the prospect pool front. They don't have a vast amount of prospects, but it also shouldn't be too prohibitive because a lot of the guys that they're looking to upgrade now via trade aren't going to cost the top 10 prospects in your system. And maybe, would you do Cal Steven or Charles McAdoo for Luis Robert? Probably, like you do that. But would you do one of your top 5 prospects? I highly doubt it, just because Luis Robert is coming off of a down year. That being said, he has also shown to be very high upside, probably higher upside than a lot of the players available in the market. And I just wanted to bring his name up because as Ross Atkins starts to think about a Jays trade, they're actively looking at, you need one more bat, right? That's no doubt about it. You absolutely need one more bat. There's no way to go about it. Now, are they going to get one more bat externally? That's still yet to be seen, and they could go for it in the form of a guy like Alan Roden at AAA, who's going to come up and play the everyday role in the outfield as maybe a DH/outfield guy. Hopefully, get some good reps in there. You have Aurelvis Martinez to play third. Like there are guys internally that you can go for, but if you're really trying to go all in and win now, maybe making a trade for a guy like Luis Robert after his worst season with a White Sox team that's not going to compete is a very viable option. But let me know down below what your thoughts are. Would you want Arenado? Do you think that Ross Atkins is going to make a trade? It definitely seems like if they're going to make any more moves, it's going to be from the front of a trade. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys once again for allowing us to hit 16,000. Thank you guys for watching.